how emotional intelligence can change ideas about masculinity and help our young people. For a long time, old ideas about what it means to be a man, like always being tough and not showing your feelings, have held many of us back. Kids often don't get the emotional support they need, and positive male role models are actually hard to find. This can lead to feelings of isolation and slow personal growth, not only for our kids, for our men and for our couples and for our women. Today, we have Jack McGregor with us. He created Life Lift Man and is a mentor who uses his own experiences to show how being open about feelings and understanding emotions can really help men and young people. In this episode, we'll discuss things like positive affirmations, being open about our emotions, and how having good role models can change our lives for the better. By the end, you'll learn how some simple and powerful ideas can help you reconnect with others and support our younger generations. Welcome aboard The Nichole Show with host Nichole Hamilton. Our task is to educate, empower, and change lives. Join us for stories of resilience and rebirth. Honest talks that inspire and challenge you. Are you ready to make a move? It begins now. Welcome back, guys, to The Nichole Show, where we try and spread some messages and some lessons and learnings with some beautiful guests. And today I have Jack McGregor. I literally have only just met him 5 minutes ago, but have been following him for about a week or so on socials. And I do love the platforms that we have nowadays when we're in this kind of world. I stumbled across Jack and I was like, your message is so powerful. I love what you're doing with the men's work and the families. So without me going over the top, Jack, please introduce yourself to me and my listeners.
Sure. Thanks so much, Nichole. And thank you for inviting me on as well. It's a great honor to be able to have these conversations. My name's Jackson or Jack McGregor, JR, whatever anyone wants to call me is fine. I started this journey. Well, I started my own personal development journey probably about 10 years ago, and I've just decided to heed the calling that I'd heard for a while at the start of this year, and just go all in on the men's work. Because after, for the past 6 years or so, I was probably doing ad hoc mentoring, running men's groups through different businesses that I was having, and just realized that this was making a difference, and I could see the impact that it was having, not just in my community, but the ripple effects that was sending out as well. And I realized that this is super important work to be doing, and decided to heed my calling. And that's where I guess I've landed here, and my message is resonating, I guess, like it is with you and many of the other people that I have following me on the different platforms. And it's an honor to be able to do this work, and it's inspiring. It fills my cup completely to be able to assist men in changing their own lives for the better.
Yeah, I love that. So in my world, like where I am working with children, and mostly I'd say like 99% mothers, it's really important for me to connect with strong and conscious masculine energies that are super safe, because it gives that permission slip for other men to come in and for that, relationship to travel down. I have a lot of single moms and a lot of kids that need those beautiful, strong male mentors. And yet, unfortunately, in my world, it's few and far between. And so with these beautiful platforms and you guys saying, hey, it's okay to, do this or express this or come together and have emotions, it really does help every single person in the world. And it is traveling down to our youth, because it's so important for them to learn these skills as young as possible. So why 10 years ago? Tell me a little bit why you kind of fell into this personal development world, because everyone's got their big aha moment or their why. I'd love to know how you stumbled across this and continue to work.
For sure. Well, I mean, probably about 10 years ago, since a kid, I realized that probably the way that I was raised and the relationships that I was witnessing between my parents, it wasn't necessarily healthy. Things like conflict weren't getting resolved. There was a lot of passive aggressive, snide comments being thrown around. Just like not an unsafe environment, but we I didn't have a feeling that we could express ourselves, me and my brother, and that led to a build up of emotions and like me not knowing how to express myself in healthy manners and not knowing why I was doing certain things either. So about 10 years ago, I really started to dive deep into researching psychology, getting an understanding of why people do what they do, so I could really learn why the hell I do what I do. And having that awareness is, it's, I've heard that personal development is one of the hardest things that you'll go through, but it's one of the most rewarding things that you'll do as well. And that was definitely the case for me. There was a lot of nights crying, a lot of tears shed, but a lot of moments of pure ecstasy when coming to the realizations of, oh, okay, this is something that's within my control, and taking back that responsibility, taking back my autonomy instead of blaming other people for being like, well, this is how I am. My childhood made me like this. It's like at that point of awareness was when I was then able to shift and start working on myself. And I don't think that journey will ever be complete. And I don't think that, we ever get to a point where we're finished or anything like that. I think it's a lifelong thing of learning, unlearning, and, taking everything on board that we possibly can so that we can better show up for not just ourselves, but our partners, our friends, our children. And as you were saying just then, there's a lot of single mothers these days, and I really am a big believer in it takes a village to raise a child, and being a positive role model in my friends that are single mothers in their kids' lives is super rewarding as well. And you can see the difference that having a male role model in their environment really impacts them.
Well, even in my life, so I have a wife, and I'm bisexual. I don't know if you've watched all my stuff, but for me, I realized like after coming out of a marriage that wasn't healthy, I still needed male, beautiful role models in my world that were healthy. And so I do gravitate to having a lot of male friends now that are in this conscious world and having these conversations, because I still need the energy. And so, single mums, single dads, you do need, a good, positive female and masculine energy in your lives for not only yourself, but for your children. And my kids get the benefits of that, like having these people around them. I've cultivated beautiful friends and coaches in their world. And because I've done the work and showed up, and I 100% agree with you, we never continue to stop doing the work. There's always a new lesson or always a new aha. But I'm showing them and giving them permission that I have a coach for this and I ask for help. And just because I got over addiction doesn't mean I'm not, working on this particular belief. And, that comes through. And I really do think that having, conversations with like-minded souls gives you that, like, oh, maybe I want to learn about this, or maybe I want to dive into this now. And you're right, personal development is one of the hardest things you can do. I was just saying in my last podcast, I still get nervous. I've been doing this like 12, 14 years. And every time I have a new coach or I rock up, I get nervous. Like, oh my God, what am I going to unpack today? Like, I've been doing this so long, but what am I going to, what is going to come up in my nervous system, or where am I holding on to something that's not serving me? So I guess I'd love to ask, what's one of your favorite modalities to use to process some of the things that you're going through? What would be your thing that you'd love to do? Is it working with a coach, or is it breath work, or what do you love to do to work through some of the things that you challenge you?
Sure. So like I've done most things, right? I've tried almost everything that like for my own personal development. Most recently, and one of the things that I hold super dear to my heart is journaling. Like I carry my book around everywhere I go, and that is one of the best things that I can express to anyone is getting your thoughts out of here onto paper. It's relieving, it's relinquishing, but it also allows you to articulate your thoughts better, understand yourself so much more. So that's been a big one, and I was quite hesitant to do it for such a long time as well. Like I used to take notes on my phone, but actually having a physical journal that I ensure that I write in every day has been seriously a game changer for me. But before that, I've sat with breath work. I really believe there's a lot of power in breath work. You get to these almost psychedelic like states through it, and that's another thing that I've sat with. I've sat with plant medicines, which has propelled my journey, is what I would say. Like sitting with them in a healthy manner, being real ritualistic about it, and I go in always asking the same question, which is, what am I currently doing that's holding me back from the life that I want? And you ask that question and you are sure to get answers. And my God, have I received some answers at times in regards to that question that has really shook me to my core and, made me, the way I explain it is going through that experience, asking that question, the first time anyway, it almost removed 95% of who I was at the time. I went through this ego death experience and I had this beautiful moment where I was sitting at the back with some friends, just crying, realizing that this is like how I've been acting isn't the person that I wanted to be as a kid. Like I wanted to be this compassionate, kind man. And I was acting out of fear and out of anger and, sadness and grief and all these other emotions that were tied up within me. And to let all of that go was just such a beautiful experience. And then I realized that I needed to rebuild myself after that into the person that I did want to be, which is, like I said, that kind, compassionate, loving man. Because for so long, like I had these ideals of masculinity come from social media or TV shows or movies or peer groups that was, you've got to be stoic at all times and you've got to be in control, you've got to be dominant, you've got to be strong. And they're all fantastic. And I do believe that they have their place, but they've got to be balanced with this emotional intelligence and this side of vulnerability almost as well, which is authenticity and honesty. And yeah, so they've been my big breakthrough moments of modalities that I've used. But working with other coaches is definitely something that I've got coaches and mentors myself that have steered me in the right direction from the day I've met them. And just like you have these moments where you go into a conversation, you're like, oh, what am I going to have to release today?
Yeah, correct. I find these podcasts are also a bit like therapy because people can challenge me or ask me questions here as well. But I love that we've obviously lived a very similar life. I've done, similar things, breath work and plant medicines too, and ceremonies. And oh my God, highly, highly recommend. I know it's controversial, but anybody that has the calling to go find their medicine, men or women, it literally is thousands of hours of therapy in one night or two nights, however you do it, and 100% can really help you release and come back to what your soul is truly meant to be. I do feel like what you were saying about men, I've witnessed it in so many realms. My dad, I think I've maybe seen cry once or twice. My ex-husband was in the army and different things and was a diesel mechanic. There's so many stereotypes of like what a man is meant to look like and, provide and be safe and be the alpha. And I've seen different behaviors of men and don't get me wrong, women have their own pack rules as well. But when I feel safest, honestly, not when a guy is being the loudest or the most alpha, but when a guy can actually really trust me to tell me what he's thinking and feeling, including my dad. Like I've had the best conversations with my dad in later years, taking him for a coffee and talking, and allowing that in, and same with my brother and even my ex-husband now. Like those conversations when a guy can actually be, really talk about their emotions and what they're feeling is when I felt the most connected and safest. And that's the kind of behavior and relationships that I want to model, not only to my children, but other children, because it's stuff we weren't taught. We were taught to, just, don't worry about it, get on, do your 9 to 5, blah, blah, blah. And these deep, vulnerable questions of unpacking where we've held our emotions, where we've held our trauma, where we've not innately been the human that we were born to be. I just love these conversations. I can't get enough of them. And there's so many modalities to release and play with. So yeah, thank you for being another one of those permission slips that's showing up and saying, hey, it's okay to be all of it. It's okay to do all of it.
Oh, 100%. Because and without one of the things that happens and that I experience myself is you're limiting yourself from the human experience by stopping yourself from experiencing those emotions, because we are human as men as well. As we have the balance of both the masculine and the feminine energy within us, and finding that, and what I refer to as the divine masculine, which is coming to the core of that's what allows us to experience what you were just saying, like the feeling of safety and the feeling of the trust and respect of a man showing up and saying, hey, look, I've got flaws as well. Like I've got things that I'm working on, and this is what I'm doing about it as well. And then that allows that back and forth for you or somebody else to be able to open up and be honest and authentic yourself. And that's where I really believe that vulnerability and embracing vulnerability as a strength and not a weakness is what allows us to really be, whether you want to call it an alpha man, whether you want to call it whatever it is, like they're the men that I think are the strongest, the ones that can, they can cry. They can not only get high with their brothers, but cry with their brothers. And that's something that's vitally important to me.
Yeah, and I even see it. So I have an 18-year-old and a nearly 15-year-old teenage boys, and then a little nearly 4-year-old daughter. And even my eldest, like my 18-year-old, going through that transition, he's so careful and compressed with his words and his emotions, just because even then, like he went to trade school and his dad's probably a little more closed. And so, but just, I just allow, like he has to go through his own growth, but I have these beautiful evolved coaches and friends and uncles and people around him that can inspire. And I think that that's, again, really, really important, because when I was growing up, it was all the same. There was no option. It was like, do it this way. And yeah, I fully believe, though, the power of what we're learning. How old are you, by the way, Jack? I didn't even ask. It's
Sure, I'm
kind of
31.
a rude. You're 31. Well, I'm 43, so a little older. But I firmly believe that, we all go looking at some point. Like it gets to a point where you're like, I'm not happy. Like I've been conditioned to this for my relationships or my family or whatever else. There's some point where we're like, actually, what do I want? And for me, that was in my 20s when I realized my drug addiction was not who I wanted to be. But everything I learned in personal development, everything I've learned in breath, in cold therapy, in word therapy, hypnotherapy, every energetics, all of that, I was like, why are we not playing with the kids with this? Like, why are we not sharing it to kids? Because they get it so quickly. You just
Mm-hmm.
ask the question, when was the first time you were angry? And, my son went back into the womb, or another kid goes, oh, when I was 2. And they're like, oh, cool. What do you need to know to let it go? Kids get it like this, whereas a 30 or 40-year-old, they're like, I don't know. I'm just angry. I just, it's because my partner, we're so stubborn in our beliefs and our things. But when we play with them and we, my little one, she picks up on my energy and she teaches me to breathe again. She's like, Mum, you just need to, and she's got that from me from somewhere, but they pick up on it. And I just love that, with these platforms, hopefully we can get them to them younger and younger. And I fully believe in that, the tweens and the teenagers, because if they know that they can be vulnerable and that they're not going to be judged, that they can ask for help, think about those like integrated humans will be in their 20s rather than what we were doing in our 20s. So that's kind of my mission. So tell me a little bit about your current work. What are you doing there in New South Wales? Like, how can people find you? Like, what is your projects that you're working on right now?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, yeah, like we had a bit of a chat just before we jumped on here, and one of the things that I was saying is that I truly believe that to get to the benefit of like children being able to do these kind of things, we need to kind of like work on a top-down level approach almost, and because there's guys that are my age or older that are stuck within their lives, and that was the position that I found myself in, right? Like not able to express myself emotionally. Like I thought there was 3 emotions, it was happy, angry, and like something in between, right? And like I didn't really realize that there was other things in there. So these are big things that I'm trying to educate people on and let men know that we can feel our emotions. And this is one of the keys to unlocking our own level of happiness and our own authenticity, so that we can, like I was saying, show up for our partners, but then so that we can teach our kids that that's the way to be. Like, express yourselves, talk about what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, so that you can get to a point of, like you were saying, letting it go and relinquishing that. So this is a big part of my work, and also getting guys to redefine masculinity for themselves. So instead of just going through this old, outdated, like we were saying earlier about this dominance, this stoicism all the time, always being in control. It's like understanding that there's so much more nuance to it. It's like there's being able to lead with integrity and lead with love with a partner, instead of being domineering and controlling and you have to do this and you have to do that, right? Like it creates so much more of a safe environment for not just them, but then those children as well. And that's I think been my goal for such a long time, is I don't want to have kids into society that were like me, unfortunately, like, during my childhood, and feeling so trapped and closed and not able to, feeling like I was like had to shame when I was like crying, or, not able to express my emotions, not able to experience this whole breadth of this human experience that we go through, which is absolutely beautiful when you're able to be there presently in the moment. And that's the other thing as well, is like, as men, and I'm sure it happens for women as well, we get caught in our heads so much. Like, we spend so much time up here that we don't get into our bodies, and we don't feel our emotions, and therefore they become repressed, and therefore we don't get to um, be who we actually want to be in society, because we're trying to live up to this outdated expectation. So that's part of my mission, is to just help men live more balanced and empowered lives, so they can show up authentically, so they can show up with integrity, and they can show up with love in all their relationships. So that's yeah. It's kind of hard to put it all into like a one sentence kind of soundbite, I guess, because there's a lot
I didn't
to it,
want it
and
in a
there's a lot I
one
work with.
sentence. I didn't want it in a one sentence. It's beautiful, Jack. Like, I feel your energy, I feel your passion, and it's so important to collab with like-minded humans, because this mission is bigger than us. When you start feeling that
Mm,
on a soul level, that is what, other humans need to feel. It just, it's all so important. And it's also reminding me of what my master was teaching me in Bali a couple of weeks ago. It's seriously about connection and communication. And when we do that with whatever elements, with our gods, with our guides, with whatever, when we connect and we communicate with love and have the power to surrender, to let go of the things that have been stored in our stories and emotions in our body, like, anything is possible. And we literally do. Like you said, we get in our heads. We all forget, every single human. We forget to be present. We forget to open our hearts and act with love. And in this society, like, especially our children and even us now, we're so dysregulated because there is too much going on. There's too much social media, not enough goodness coming through. There's too much fast food and bad foods, and not enough outside in the sun. Like, there's so many things that we have literally forgot. Yet this beautiful human experience, these beautiful connections, and like I could just, sit and chat to people all day and connect into their souls, and my life would be fulfilled, because I've worked on that, and I know how to open my heart and how to have a beautiful conversation. I can't stand it now when people are fickle and they're like, "Oh, how's the weather?
mm,
And have you seen the news?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, please, please no." And so, yeah, I'm really proud that, I don't know if it's just my algorithm, but I'm really proud that there's like-minded souls doing this work too, because I can feel the shift. I know that
mm,
we're really literally coming back home, and it's not just here in Australia. It's a global thing. Like, I can feel it in Bali. I can feel it in other places. My friends are traveling across the world, that there is this shift, and I'm really encouraged and hopeful that, this mission is bigger than us, to get us back to our home, back to our love, and sharing that human experience. It does take a tribe, a village to raise a family. And if we can't be together physically, like, at least we do have this beautiful, social media world that we can
mm.
find the connections that we're looking for. So if you're listening to this and you're like, who the hell are these people and where are they from? You can find other people probably in your community. And if not, we're not too far away. We're literally a Zoom call away, or, the rest. And it just, it really does inspire me to keep having these awesome conversations.
And
Mm.
just as you said, it's like being able to witness the younger generation as well, making these changes in their lives. It's so heartwarming, and like that fills my cup watching that. Like, knowing that I've got people that, I look at my Instagram, statistics, and you can see the ages of people following you, and you see people that are like, 17 or whatever, like in that age bracket, and you're just like, man, I wish I had this when I was that age, right? Like, it would have been
100.
so powerful. And I just got back from a men's work retreat a couple of weeks ago, and with 200 men, and some of the guys there, they were men with their children, like they were fathers with their children, like the 14, 15. And I'm like, like that made me so emotional at the time, just witnessing these interactions, these beautiful healing interactions, and realizing that, like you were saying, it's like this is a thing that's just happening everywhere now, and it's like the collective consciousness is being raised, like that vibration, like the level that we exist on, that energy, it's changing, and it's beautiful to see. It's so heartwarming.
It is. It's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, Aurora, my boys are older, but Aurora has literally grown up in this world. She was 6 weeks old and we were taking her to like a breakthrough day of like meditation and breath and the rest. And she literally comes on all my retreats. Like my wife and her are like my roadies. And, I've held my first parent and kids retreat this year. And I want to, host more across the country with my other kids coaches, because the more we do the work as human beings, as parents, as mentors, aunts, uncles, even whatever, the more the kids see it, the frequencies, and the more the whole universe shifts. It's just so it is super powerful. I cry. Like, I love chatting to adults, don't get me wrong, but when a kid picks me and I'm their mentor and I get to connect with them either online or in person, I cry.
Hey everyone, Nichole here, and I hope you're enjoying today's episode. I just want to take a quick moment to talk to you all. If you're finding value in our conversations and loving the raw, honest dialogues we're having here, I've got a small favor to ask. This podcast is a passion project for me, and there's nothing I love more than bringing these stories and insights to you. So if you haven't already, would you consider subscribing to our show and leaving a review? It's completely free and it doesn't take much time, but it really helps us in two big ways. It's getting the podcast in front of more listeners, which keeps our community growing. It helps us attract more amazing guests, which means we give you more value in the episodes we bring to you. Just hit that subscribe button, drop us a review, and let's keep these conversations flowing.
Like my whole nervous system, because that ripple effect is so huge. Like what they're learning at that age. Like I said, I wish I had someone tell me I was worthy at 7 and I didn't need to people please, or, it was okay just to be Nichole. Like I wish I'd found that sooner, but obviously I don't regret my journey because it's led me to here. But, those things are so important. And they're definitely words that our parents never thought to use. Well, I don't know. My parents didn't say you're worthy or, it's just enough to be you. They told me they were proud of me and they love me. Cool. But some of those other like deep human needs of like, you're perfect the way you are. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. That's how we learn. And, celebrating those things, like creating that real baseline level of safety. I can't, it needs to be more of it. Like definitely needs to be in our education systems. And if we are educating the parents and the collective, like it is like really flowing down. So yeah.
Oh, I wholeheartedly
What's your
agree. Like what you just said there. Sorry?
Oh, no, sorry. I jumped in. My ADHD jumped to the next thing. What were you going to say, Jack?
I was just going to say, like what you just said there about like, being told that you're worthy as a child would have been so powerful, right? And I think that one of the things for, men specifically is that we always think that we're not enough, right? And like I think that comes like that gets filtered down to children as well. It's like as boys, you're always competing and you're always, which is again a fantastic thing for men to be doing, but just being told that you're enough as who you are. You're worthy of love. That's again is who you are. You're intrinsically a valuable person in this world. That would just be life changing, I think, at that time, right? And I think if more parents can get that message to their kids, society would be a healthier place.
Or just mentors. I mean, I said this once before, so sorry, Mum, if you are listening to all my podcasts. I said it once before and she got offended, but it wasn't meant in an offensive way. But when my mum tells me she loves me or she's proud of me, there's some kind of like, yeah, whatever, because I'm used to it, but when, like, if you said, oh, Nichole, like, I've just followed some of your stuff and like, you are like, I'm so proud of the work that you're doing, I would literally light up, because when somebody else sees something in you, especially a stranger who doesn't have a attachment to saying these things, your whole nervous system lights up. So I fully believe that teachers and mentors and aunts and uncles and other people's like in men's groups like need to do that and recognize that, and also have the courage to do it. Like a lot of people see something in someone and then don't have the confidence to say, oh my God, like I can feel your energy. That's beautiful. And I actually did that at an event the other day, and this guy messaged my friend and said, I can't, like it's lit me up. Like nobody's ever said that to me. And me and my wife are energetic beings. And that person just loved it, like to be felt and to be seen in that way.
To be seen.
And so when, I strongly encourage people to express their truths to others. Like I do it at the gym, and I know that that's probably a bit of a fickle place, but not a lot of people talk in the gym. I'm like, oh my God, your body is amazing. Look at that. Like, I don't say anything that's disgenuine, but not a lot of people can recognize or have the courage to say it. Like they might think it or compare. I don't know, but one of my biggest thing is, no, say it. Like you only get one life, so why not? And especially to our younger ones, because it's just, I wasn't taught to parent like this. I just kind of learned it through personal development, and then was like, oh, that makes sense. Like may as well use that for my kids or for my mothering. So yeah.
Yeah, if you see something you admire about someone, tell them, right? Like, and tell them in that instant when you feel it.
Yeah, correct. And have the courage. Like some people are just so I don't know, maybe have been hurt before, or their heart is closed, or they're nervous. But I remember meeting this one guy. I don't know if you know him as well. He's what is his name? Paddy McDonald. He's actually in Melbourne. He's another men's coach. He's really cool. But I remember meeting him, and it was probably very new in my journey. And I was like, oh my God, your energy is amazing. Like I literally could have just basked in it. And I'm an energetic person, but like having that ability to be able to say that to someone, I would never have done that before. But you can pick up on it, and we've fast become friends and mentor each other. But having that interaction, like really opening up, like he could have rejected that and said you're weird or whatever else. Like I was in a personal development area, but feeling that and picking up and having the courage to say, or are you okay? I can feel that about you today, or I really loved what you said there, or can I help you unpack something? Like this world has literally helped me be the best version of myself. Like really being able to see in others what I either want to learn or want to model, or do have in me. It's a beautiful place to play. And I think that by spreading these messages, hopefully others go, I felt that too, and I haven't been able to, or I want to do this. So it's a cool place to be sharing and playing.
And just just that fulfillment you get, right? Like even, and this is I think how I realized that this is the work for me, is like, if nobody ever paid me to be their mentor, I would still do it. This is still the stuff that I want to do in my life, because you can see the change in people, and like you're saying, you can feel it too. Like I feel like I can just not see through people, but I can see into their soul, and you can feel their energy and be like, yeah, like I can literally feel the change in you via this conversation, or like, via my journey that I'm putting people through, and, watching their whole demeanor change. It's just like, it just fills my heart. And it's absolutely beautiful.
I think though, what shifts is though that it may be a reflection when you start working on yourself and you start feeling and seeing the best in yourself. You can, or maybe we do have our coaches as well that see the best in us and reflect it back. It gives us the ability to do that to others. And I feel like that is just the gift, right? And the same thing, I would still do this if I wasn't getting paid. And obviously I don't get paid for podcasts. I love creating them. But literally seeing that spark or that soul and reflecting back to somebody, something that they've forgotten about themselves or they haven't noticed about themselves for a while, reflecting that back is the gift. Like I see, like it's like namaste, right? I see the light in you that is in me, but if I reflect that back and have the courage to say it, like what a beautiful universe we're playing in, and it's just, I think it is just a lost art, forgotten art. Like see the best in somebody else that they sometimes don't see in themselves.
Yeah, the world is as you are, right? Like, everyone's a reflection of who you are, and you, like, if you feel good about yourself, and you can admire yourself, then you can see that in other people. And I've been that person that hasn't had that in me. Like, and I've been in tough situations and just thought the worst of myself, like that I wasn't worthy, that I wasn't enough. And then that was a reflection of everyone that I saw. I was just had these expectations that, oh, well, that person's not enough then either. Like that person's not admirable. There's nothing in them that's good. And that was being able to go from that to where I am now, and just seeing the good in everyone and realizing that we're all just walking each other home at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, we are, totally are. And I guess a really good reflection, because I forget, like, if I'm having a bad day and I'm stressed out and I'm in a shitty mood, like everybody pisses me off, right? Like, because I'm looking through that lens. Like, I can have a loving heart today and be so integrated and full of love and have the best afternoon. But if I've had a stressful day that somebody's triggered me and I'm looking through that lens, me and my wife are having, issues and challenges, and we're just not communicating well, it's so easy to see it. But I love like a quick little reframe on that. And I learned this from one of my other coaches, Miranda, was that a quick little reframe is just try and look at anything through the eyes of innocence. Like if you walked through a veil, like if you literally walk through a curtain and you could just pull the curtain back and you were literally looking at that person or at that thing for the very first time, what do you see in it? And when I do that, especially for my wife, I'm like, oh my God, there she is. Like that moment that you fall in love, like, oh my God, I see all the best. And yet I don't see the things that were annoying me that day. And when I do that, like, or if I need to like, take a breath and restart, like looking at something like you're a brand new baby with curiosity or with love or just with totally the eyes of innocence, it's a really quick way to totally change your state and the way that you're thinking. And I just love it. I think it's a William Whitecloud modality.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, because we can all get stuck in that, like you're saying, right? Like we all have our bad days, and and then that can then rub off on everybody else that we interact with for that day. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's like being able to have that, and that's one of the reasons why I love watching kids just do anything, right? It's because they experience life through this beautiful awe and wonder for everything, and that's that thing that I think if we could tap into that more and just like look at people with that awe and wonder, and it's like, wow, you're a human just as I am, and there's amazingness in you as well.
Kids are amazing. Like they really do. Like they crack me up because they're authentically honest. They don't have a filter. They get things super quick as well. Like you ask and they can just like find the answer, and they can change their state so quickly. Like, my little one can go from a meltdown to being totally happy 2 seconds later. And you're like,
right.
Like, how did you regulate and do that so quickly? And it's definitely, we have lost some of those arts from our unconsciousness. Like when we get to play and have curiosity and just have fun with stuff, it's a super, super cool place to play. So, yeah.
I think there's a lot to learn from children. Being able to like I'm not a parent myself, and I look forward to the day that I am. And like one of the things that I've experienced and witnessed from like my friends' kids is they teach you so much as well, right? If you let them, and being able to experience that, it's such a joyous experience. Like occasions at any time that I get to.
100%. And like honestly, as I said, I'm older than you, but when I was in my 20s, I only liked my own kids. Like I literally only had the patience for my own kids.
Right.
But the universe had different ideas for me and just kept guiding me into schools and different places to play. And when a kid gravitates towards me or wants, like I couldn't care about the adults around, and they just get it. Like they feel your energy. They know that you're a human, that you want to, be and play, but they teach me just as much as I get to share with them, because they're just so curious and so bold, and they reframe things in different ways that we haven't seen for a long time or remembered. And it's just, I think the biggest thing is, as adults, perhaps, and not all of us, but we forget that they're just little humans, that they are going through the exact same things. Like they still feel unworthy at 4 or 7, like probably when their conscious mind kicks in, they still feel unheard or unsafe, yet we're not giving them the skills down there. It's not until they're older that we start talking about that. And so at such a young age, if we can integrate those things of like, hey, let's be curious, let's ask a question, let's fail forward, let's feel good in ourselves, it makes such a huge impact. And I can talk for days and days about working with kids, because it's just I think what I'm put on this earth to do.
So how did you get into it? Like what was the turning point in Nichole's life to get you from having those experiences of like, only having the patience for your kids to then knowing that this is your mission?
There was a couple of little lessons along the way. So I started personal development for my own addiction, and then as I learned different things, I was a better mom. I brought it home for my kids for like, how about, where do you feel that? How do you know that? So I started playing in that realm. And then one of my masters was like, Nichole, you need to work with this kid. And I was like, oh shit. And I literally went there and I didn't know what I was doing. And I studied all these different modalities and whatever else. And I just let it channel. And I just made up a game on the spot and got this beautiful child out of his seat. He was almost blind, had a few different disabilities, and I got him to do a mind map, and I made a game on his lounge room carpet, like after he obviously interviewed me and said yes. I made this game, and then every kid after that, I just used to get out my way. I was like, I'd say I don't know what I'm doing, but then the kid would present something to me, and I'd make a game out of it. Like I'd make a dream catcher for having bad dreams, or I'd get some sticks in the garden and do whatever. And every time a kid would bring something to me, I would be like, that's a personal development idea. Let's make that a game. Let's do some art. Give me some glitter. Give me some chalk. And so it just progressed from there. I took a turning point, and then I started working in the prison system for a while, and I was like, oh my God, like all my knowledge, I just want to work in the prisons. And I got a no, like when I went through the interview process, and it was a big aha moment. I was like, okay, well, that's not where I'm meant to be. And I then got a job in education, and I worked in the disability units and helping teachers out. And it just progressed. And then I really started working with another coach, and he's like, well, what do you love? Like you've been in this world for a long time. You've worked with a lot of humans, like, in all ages. What do you love? And I was like, kids. When they pick me, I cry. And he's like, that's it. And so I rebranded myself the kids coach about 4 years ago, and I developed my own coaching program for children. And it's just been effortless ever since, and I work with kids online. Like I work with kids across the country. It doesn't have to be in person. I teach others how to do it. And it just, for me, it's a no-brainer. Like all that knowledge is out there, but just grab it and stop giving it to our 30s and 40s and 20-year-olds. Play with kids. Like show them how to interview, show them how to breathe, show them how to, process their emotions. And I'm just here to share my message and across as many platforms as I can to encourage people, because that's where the huge impact is. Like bring it to them, because it's like teach a man to fish, teach a child to feel and to process. Imagine them in their 20s and 30s, right?
Yeah, they don't have to go through as much that trauma or whatever it is that got us to where we are today, for example. It's like hopefully they can get through it with much more ease. And I think you're like what you were just saying about that earlier, about like going into that first kids experience and essentially just playing, right? And I think that's something that's missed so much. It's like we have this such a rigid education system, daycare system, that kids don't get to be kids. Kids don't get to play anymore. It's like I know that was like the experience that I had growing up, like feeling that I had to grow up so quickly and become this adult like overnight almost. And like watching kids play and realizing that the fun that's in that, and the education as well, and the like, you can go through all of those things with them. You can help them learn what they're feeling and express it just through play. It's amazing to hear that. It's beautiful.
You can do anything with kids. Like, I can make anything a game. You can make cooking a game with education and adding up and, words. You can make anything a game. And as long as they're engaged, and kids obviously have so many different interests that they're in. But if you look through their lens, it's like, oh, wow, I can teach them this through football. Or, okay, you love crystals. Cool. Let's talk about how that makes you feel. Like, just being open to it. Where, we sometimes, and because of how we have also grown up, we get so rigid in our thought process. And that's what I do love about kids, is that everything's open. Like everything's, they're so curious. And so, for me, I really feel like kids coaching is a big thing. Like you've got, Tony Robbins, you've got all these amazing, big, massive coaches across the world. But if a small portion of those went, hey, how about I use that for 7-year-olds or use it for teenagers? Like, it could just be a whole phenomenon. So that's why I keep talking to people like you as well, and we just keep doing the work.
That's right. Yeah. It's about, and literally it's just about showing up as well, right? And whether it's for like showing up for ourselves, to show up for each other, and then to show up for the kids, you can see that change. And obviously you get to witness that in the moment, right? You can probably see that change happening right there. And I think that would be such a rewarding experience. Has there been like a specific, a transformation stand out for you that's just like, holy shit, this is why I do this?
There was definitely one in the school system that made me go out on my own, and that was when there was a young teenager, like 13, I think he was, and he was one of the most disruptive ones in class and had behaviors. And we were just sitting together doing artwork together, coloring and being really present and actually doing the task. And I was like, oh my God, mate, like, look how amazing you're doing. You're concentrating, you're focused. Like, the work here is really good. I'm so proud of you. And I literally felt his energy shift, and his little eyes like just come off the paper and met my eyes. And he was like, really? No one's ever said that to me before. And in that moment, like, I'm in the school, in the classroom with 30 other kids. I want to cry, but I'm not. And I just wanted to hug him and tell him I love him. But I was like, yeah, mate, I'm so proud of you. And I know that is one of my callings. Like, my heart felt his heart. He's full. I don't even know if he'll ever remember me or not, but I know his soul will remember that feeling for the rest of his life, and that there are people out there that will see the best in him and know that, that people are proud of him. And so having that ability, I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. Like, I'm just, even if it's just that one sentence or that one interaction, and being that person for somebody else, is what I'm meant to do. And so, yeah, when kids pick me and I get to reiterate back what I see in them, or, those interactions, I never take for granted. And there's probably heaps more as well that I can talk about. But that particular one hit my soul on such a core level. I was like, yep, I'm meant to work with kids,
And so how long and you said, like, what was that, 4 or 5 years ago you started doing the kids work
so that's
specifically?
probably 5 years ago in a school that I was working. But on and off, I was always kind of working here in Adelaide. Like, I'd do a little bit of hypno with kids, and I kind of built my skill set up and playing with them and bringing personal development modalities to my own kids. But yeah, 4 years ago, I started the kids coach, and really just, like, that's my niche now. That's who I really want to work with. And then I help other families and parents and coaches get into that world, because there's only one of me. So I help others. I've got 150 kids coaches across Australia, all doing it in in different places. Yeah. And so we all just stay as a collective, as a family, working together to keep this mission going. Like, I've got counselors and spiritual healers and yogis and mama bears and all different people doing kids coaching, chefs and PTs, all doing it in different ways, because every kid needs a different kind of mentor or coach, right? They need to learn. So we've got 150 across Australia and growing. And that's why I do what I do, because when a kid feels it, like, I love working with adults, and I have had beautiful shifts working with adults, but when a kid feels it, my soul just lights up. It's a calling, it's a feeling.
Do you see the ripple effect go upwards in that family then? Like, or do you get to witness that at all? Like, because obviously there's changes in that child. Does that then spread throughout their family?
Depends on the family, but yes, 100%. I've worked with so many different families. Like, they see the level and the shifts, and they're like, oh, I want to learn a bit of that. Or then there's sometimes the reverse effect, where I've gone, hey, to a parent, I think that maybe we need to do some work as well, because what I'm doing with your child is coming from here, and I have that. As much as I have vulnerability and love, I'm pretty good at being honest and being able to call people. So I do work with the parents as well sometimes, and I've also got other kids coaches that just solely work with parents and do parent training. But it works both ways. Like, so I can see, and a lot of times parents will come in and want to do the sessions too. Like, they want to connect and want to feel what their kids are feeling. So it's a beautiful thing. And then and if the kids are coming for their own sessions, I always send them home with, like, hey, teach mum or dad this, like, show them what we've learned with this particular thing. And it is. It's that ripple effect that just keeps going.
Yeah, that's beautiful, isn't it? Like, and it's bang on true, isn't it? Like, you integrate what you've learned so much better when you can start to teach it too, right? And I think that's probably one of the reasons why, yourself might have got into this. It's one of the reasons why I think I got into this was, every time I have a session with someone, I'm like something comes up for me, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting reflection.
Right. So make sure that you send us all your bits and pieces so that people can find you as well, Jack. But is there anything else that you want to share before we kind of wrap up today? I like to leave my listeners at about this time so we don't get too long-winded. But I'd definitely love to have you back on at some other stage as well. But is there anything you want to share with the listeners before we wrap up?
Again, thank you for listening, and thank you for having me on as well. Like, it's been an awesome experience. I too love connecting with other people that are in this space. I guess I can drop my social handles if you'd like.
Please do.
Sure. Yep. So my Instagram and YouTube, they're both just Life Lift Man. So pretty simple. If anybody wants to have a conversation, I'm always open for conversations as well. If they need some help, they can more than happy to reach out. And this is my calling as well, and I love to be of service. That's my life's mission, to be of service.
I love that. It's so beautiful and so powerful. So thank you so much for being on the Nichole Show, and we'll stay in touch, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
You also.